Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Friday's episode of Bareham Engines. Well, today, guys, outside is a complete washout. It's been like this here for about a week now. Terrible. Just makes me wish I had the E30 or even the kit car just to drift about in. But there we go. But anyway, guys, if we head into the workshop, this is what I like about this door, look. I can lock it so no one can come in and disturb me while I'm making videos. Right, so first job of today, guys. We turn the TV off so there's no copyright issues. I've got the Fiat obviously built up on the short motor there, just waiting for some crank bearings. Now, the reason I'm waiting for crank bearings, you may ask, why are you waiting for crank bearings when you seem to have quite a lot sitting up here? Now, I have been using King bearings for years, really good bearings, no issues at all with the quality or the tolerances on these. Use them all the time in the Cosworths. They do a King normal, a King race. But once upon a time, I had one set where the actual bearings inside the packet were the wrong size to what they said on the packet. And unfortunately, guys, it's happened again. So they've sent me some bearings for this, which took about 3 or 4 days to get here, unfortunately. It's got standard on the packet. We ordered standard. It's standard on the invoice. But when they turned up, look, you see the 010 on the end. They're plus 10s. So I think I showed you that in the last video, actually. I'm just repeating myself. But we had another set sent over. I was hoping to get this sent out Monday for the customer. But unfortunately, when Adrian from Mar opened the packet and looked at the bearings, sure enough, they said standard. And the same when I got them, before I've opened them up, I've had a look, yep, standard on the shells. When I've opened them, half of the shells are standard. Well, more than half actually, but 4 was still at 0.10. So, annoyingly, we can't finish the job. I have managed to get half a set in the block so I could get the pistons and rods in there, do the deckart and the pistons. In fact, I had to take 30 thou off the face of the pistons. So I've got those all on the rods and the pistons in the holes, the crank sitting in the block, and the one bearing I had left over I put on the centre main just to hold the crank down. So so that is all together. We've got the thrusts in, we had the thrusts, they were okay, so I'm just waiting for another set of bearings to come. Hopefully I've got enough bearings in standard to put them in there, but yeah, it's just one of those things, and it set me back a couple of weeks, but not to be helped. But usually, as I say, King are really good. But anyway, guys, I've made room over here on my bench. You can see I've got the crankshaft there for the Cosy, which obviously going on that centre main and the end main is probably going to need grinding, I would have thought. But I am just about to strip this Cosworth now I have room. So this is the RS500 setup. It's not an original RS500 engine because it's a 200 block. It's been long studied. This is an ex-Harvey Gibbs engine. How old it is, I do not know. And whether it's been took apart, you know what it's like. It is an ex-Harvey Gibbs engine, but has it been apart before, guys? You know what it's like with these Cossies. Probably been apart 1,000 times since he had it. But yeah, we've got the original 8 injector plenum chamber off the RS500. So you've got 4 injectors in the front as opposed to just the normal 4 at the back there, which enables you to run twice the fuel in effect. So this is running 8 greys. So this was a 550 horsepower spec, apparently. T4 turbo. I mean, the manifold and the turbo, very expensive now, hard to get hold of. We've got some Quaife pegged pulleys here, the steel ones, which I like to use. Gone a bit rusty on the front, but we're going to sort all that out. As I say, it's been studied, but I've managed to, so far, just get the rocker cover off. Now, what this cam is, I don't know. I'm suspecting it's probably a 16, but I've got to measure that. This one says BD 14 on the exhaust. So as opposed, like I said to you before, it may be running a pair of 16s, but it looks like it's running a 14. So maybe 550, might be not quite that. But what you tend to do is go up on the inlet and sort of trail behind on the exhaust to keep the torque up, really. So I would have thought to run that sort of power you'd want a pair of 16s or a 15, but with a T4, don't know. But anyway, I'm going to measure this cam, see what we got, because it's got no markings on the end. So this one hit there, you can see, well, you can just about see it's got BD14 on it. Who's made it, I don't know. But what have I found so far with just the rocker off? So looking down there at these nuts, they are the old style stud and nut kit. You can see it's got the 10, so normally they do the 6 in the middle and you've got the 4 outers, which are normal head bolts, but this has got the full 10. The reason why it has got this welded up water pump, guys, is because he's running an electric water pump, as I suspected. So what I'm probably going to end up doing is doing away with these stud and nuts and putting the ARP ones I get from Julian Godfrey in, only because I can run them slightly longer on this side, on these two here, because they obviously go down into that lug. So whether he wants to just replace them two or replace the lot of them, because we can go to our own depth with those ones, that's the good thing about them. So we got that issue. Secondly, just looking at these cams and the way they sit, you can see how off-centre they are. Now, what you do with these cams, because all the reprofiled cams you get now are four-wheel drive, obviously because this is a two-wheel drive, what they do is run a spacer behind there, and that just brings the cam out. But I'm not sure what's going on this end, but the spacers, one looks homemade to me, but they don't look like there's enough spacer there to bring the cam back. And you can see down here, if I get the torch, you can see whether that is a machining mark. You see that down there, just in the corner? Whether that's machining, and again down there, and someone's made some room for the fact that the cam is further over, or that is the side of the cam that's been wiping the aluminium down there, I don't know. But either way, it ain't good enough, and I would have thought we just need a spacer to bring that cam a bit more so the lobes are in the centre of the bucket, really, so we don't have that issue. Same on that one, it's over slightly, so we can run a bit more of a spacer there. So that is the first issue. Whether there's a bearing issue up here and that is what's bringing the cams over, don't know yet. I'll have to have a look at it. But that's the first issue. Now, just going off the state of this motor, the customer doesn't... He said he's not too fussy on how it looks, really. It's all about the driving, but I am not going to let it go out like this. So what I'm going to do is take off all these bits, like the rails, all these little bits off the throttle body, and the little original bolts, and I'm going to get that all plated for him so it looks nice. It's no more work really for me to do that, but it just looks a nicer product when it goes out, doesn't it? Got to make the effort, and I don't care if he's not too worried about what it looks like. I am. So I'll do that for him, but let's get these manifolds off, get the head off. I'm quite intrigued to see what piston setup they're running at. So guys, I know this is the bit you love. You love it when I'm sitting here with me sign behind my head, all ready for a little rant. So, today, the thumbnail and title. What is it all about, you may ask? Well, it's in the description there. I've had a bit of an odd phone call today. Took me by surprise, to be honest with you. So, the customer that is taking us to court for, let's be honest, not a major amount, but it's all to do with that MGB. He rang me up. He actually rang me up from a home address. We then got chatting. It was an odd phone call because although he's taken me to court, and obviously I've spoke to him in the past, there's never been really sort of any bad mouthing or sort of hostileness on the phone. We've always sort of spoke quite nice. He's a respectable man. He's actually quite a nice gent, really. So we just got chatting. He hasn't been very well, but... So we had a little chat about the car. He said the car's all good. And he sort of, I think he was almost sort of just saying to me, like, it's obviously going to go the next level now. He is taking it that sort of next level. And I said, that's absolutely fine. And I basically said to him, look, we never want it to get like this. We do not, obviously, we don't set out to upset our customers. We want to do all we can to make sure that, you know, they get some enjoyment out of their vehicle and everything goes smoothly and it doesn't cost them any more money than it should do, you know. We understand that it costs a lot of money to do these engines, etc. I said, but in your instance, it's a bit of an awkward one, really, because obviously our customer was the garage, you were the garage's customer. They were sort of piggy in the middle. I said, but at the end of the day, the reason we are not going to be paying it, if the court turns around and says we've got to pay it, we've got to pay it. It's one of those. And I know that usually the court favours the customer. They're always right, as they say. I said, but the reason we are not going to be paying it is because I feel that once it went from that garage to the MG specialist, they had a couple of little problems, which was a couple of £100 to sort out a few little issues. We paid them under goodwill. As far as we were concerned, everything was done and dusted. You had your car back, no more smoking, you were happy. The reason we're not paying the bill that you're billing us for is because that bill that you paid was for the garage that we were dealing with. And I said, for whatever reason, they just flew off the handle. I said, we've always got on with them okay prior to this. I said, we've even done 2 or 3 engines for them in the past, no issues. But I said, the problem we got here and how we feel is we've had that car back, your vehicle back, because it was smoking. I said, on inspection, we feel, and the same as you guys when I did videos in the past about it, you said once we found that PCV and it was damaged, it had a damaged split diaphragm, you guys stated as well that there's no way that that car could have been set up correct with the PCV like that. It's going to be drawing in air on the vacuum. You're not going to be able to set the carbs up right. And when the engine's breathing, it's going to go straight through the diaphragm into the inlet manifold and smoke. So that's what we concluded. But I said, but we still had the car, stripped the engine, put some new rings in and just sort of put a new gasket on, etc. Made sure everything was okay. Same manufacturer ring. I said, but the problem is the garage that were dealing with the car at the time, as soon as I mentioned the PCV, their tune changed. I said they didn't want it to be the PCV, they needed it to be the engine. I said that's why when they come down, they were funny, they were rude with us, and they needed it to be those piston rings. So I said the reason the piston rings were worn iffy, in my view, was because it was fueling incorrectly, it wasn't running in properly, but the smoking mainly was probably because the PCV was damaged. I suspect that they realised that the PCV should have been changed before the engine was pulled originally, because to be honest, when we stripped it, we couldn't really see a great deal wrong with it, certainly that would cause that smoking issue. So that was my feeling, you know. So rather than you turn on them and say, well, why did you pull me engine without replacing that? They've tried to turn the tables, gone off the handle and tried to put all the blame on us. So I said, we never charged them. Really, we should have charged them for the work that we did on the engine to rectify it when we had it in here, but we never did. So for them to charge you and then you to try and charge us for rectifying stuff we don't feel is fair, really. And also, the most of the things that you're trying to charge us for were rectified by the MG specialist, at which we paid anyway. So yeah, I said, you know, no sort of hard feelings, but we're going to go to court on this one, and we don't feel we should pay it. So he sort of said, well, that's fair enough. He did, in not so many words, try and sort of talk me into doing a bit of a deal. He said, whether you want to sort of make us an offer, etc. Let me know down in the comments what you think, guys. But I'm just willing to, as I say, I'm willing to stick to me guns on this, and I'm going to learn from it. And episodes like this, we had it before Christmas. We've had it a couple of times last year. We had it before Christmas with that, BMW. So yeah, we're going to stick to our guns on it, and we're going to learn from that. And when in the future, we're going to be very strict. Like I've said to you in the past, I'm going to be very strict on the warranty terms, etc. We're not going to try and help people out in any way like that. We'll go through the process, and we'll be fair. If we strip an engine, you know, and find out it's something to do with us, we'll rectify it. But from now on, there's going to be charges. If it isn't, you know, there's going to be consequences. So yeah, as I say, learning experience from it. If I have to pay it, I'll pay it. But I don't feel that I should just turn around and say, well, you know, it's only X amount, we'll just pay it and clear it off, because I just don't feel we owe it. So yeah, let me know down in the comments yet again, guys, what you think about that. Right, so very quickly, guys, we've got the CVH on here. I've bored and honed that now. It's all finished. I'm just giving the block a face. And as you can see, this is the second 3 thou cut I'm giving it. And although this engine was pretty fresh, I believe, the bores are pretty good. Although we've had to bore it again to put new pistons in, it all looked pretty good. But whether they didn't face it before or it's been through some heat, this motor, you can see where it hasn't actually cleaned. It was a little bit sort of like this, a bit distorted. So it's usually a good telltale sign of whether it's been through some heat or what the history is with the block, by just giving it a little 3 thou lick over, to be honest. But I would have thought, by the looks of it, this should be all right. And then we can get this block cleaned up, painted, and on the engine stand ready for the new pistons. Well, guys, if you haven't already, I would love you to go over and check out our second channel. We shall put a link in the description below for you to go over and watch one of the videos. I haven't really put links in the description before, and a lot of people have asked me, well, what is this second channel? So all it is basically us lot, or myself, just doing stuff outside of the actual engine work that we do. So it'd be stuff on the cars, the track cars, the E30, me out cycling, doing stuff with the family, whatever really. So yeah, if you just want to go over and check that out, guys. But massive thanks to all you guys for your comments on last night's video on the second channel. We had a lot of John on there. John hasn't been on the channel yet, really, but he actually looked really keen to do it. And I said to him this morning, people were over the moon with seeing him yesterday. Did a little bit with him explaining about his Austin 7, which everyone loves. So yeah, John's willing to sort of go on both channels, really. So what I'm going to do in the next week or so, I'm going to get John on this channel and get him to show you through some of the crank grinding, which I'm sure you're intrigued to know. So yeah, great news. Let's introduce John to the channel and get him on a little bit more, innit? Well, guys, that is all we got time for again on this Friday. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you in Monday's video. Cheers, guys.